right, we'll go ahead and get started this evening, and we do have a Board of Zoning adjustment this evening. We'll go ahead and call it to order for January 19th, 2021 with a roll call.
Tony Davis.
I'm here.
Jerry Harris.
Here.
Amber Beal.
Here.
Joey Engel.
Here.
Ben Lewis.
Here.
John Sessoms.
Here.
Devin Murphy.
Here.
Greg Langford is absent. That just leaves Jeff Seifarth.
And Jeff's here as well. We do not have any minutes, do we, to approve? I think that just got left on there. No old business. And so we'll go ahead and go to new business. And under new business, we do have a public hearing. And this is for variance 20-09, the Diamond Estates Lot 9, the Alexander property. This is at 1221 Hope Street. They're asking for an 11-foot encroachment of a covered deck into existing 25 rear yard setback. It is zoned R2, and it is a 0.20 of an acre. And so with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is John. I motion to open a public hearing for this request.
This is Joey. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second to open the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? All right, is the applicant here to just give us a brief overview of what you're requesting? Diane, do you know if they were going to join us this evening?
I am unsure. I am looking to see if, oh yes, Doug Albert is available. He is working with the applicant.
Okay. Doug, will you just give us a high-level overview of what you're requesting this evening, or what they're requesting?
Yes, it's a just a deck extension on their house. It's going to protrude 10 foot from the house into the yard. Currently, their yard has a pretty severe slope to it, so this gives them more of an ability to use their yard. So pretty simple. It is going to be covered. That's the plan anyway.
All
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Okay, and this is going to tie into the existing house, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, if you'll just hang out, we'll get through this public hearing, and then if we have any questions, we'll come back to you, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks. Diane, do you want to go ahead and give us an overview from staff?
Yes, I sure can. This is for lot number 9 of Diamond Estates Phase 1, 1221 Hope Street. And this property, they would like to add a covered deck off the back of their house. Now, this house is currently built setback to setback. It takes up the entire building setback area. There is a 10-foot utility easement that was platted with this lot. So this does not require a vacation of the easement because it is still outside of that easement. But after the final plat was approved, Carroll Electric did go back and file a easement for the back of the property, which is 20 feet. And Carroll Electric, I have spoken with them, and they are going to have somebody come out and measure to see if they are still outside of the 15 feet that they want people to be away from those overhead power lines. That's the best I've heard from them so far today. Like Doug said, they are requesting to add there we go. Thank you, Nicole. A 10-foot covered deck onto the back of their property. There is currently an open porch off of the back that goes right to the building setback line there. And I don't know if you guys want to go through the BZA considerations after the public hearing, or if you guys want to continue with those right now. And I'm looking to see if there's anything else that I missed that I needed to tell you guys on that at the moment.
Yeah, we'll go through the considerations after we close the public hearing.
Okay, I figured as such. I just wanted to double check.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and open it up to the public. And I know I jumped ahead of one of Nicole's slides earlier, but this is a public hearing. And so it gives the public or anyone that wishes to speak the opportunity to do so. There's two ways that you can do that. At the bottom of your screen, there should be the opportunity to select a raise hand. There you go. Thank you, Nicole. So there's an opportunity to do raise hand if you're on the Zoom call, and then you can be recognized. If you're on by phone, you can do *9 or *9, and that will also raise your hand, and then you can be recognized by phone number. We do ask, from a courtesy perspective that, 3 to 5 minutes to, give us any feedback, ask any questions that you would like. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the public. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, again, you can raise your hand or you can do *9, and then we would recognize you.
Yes, we do have a John Bowden that does have his hand raised to speak, and he did also send an email this morning with his comments to this also. I think his hand is still raised. He all of a sudden disappeared. There he is. So I will let him speak, but there should be in y'all's print packets and also on the in Dropbox were his comments to you guys also.
Hey, John, did you wish to speak to the commission this evening?
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Perfect. Hey, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. So I saw on the diagram they had up earlier, we are the property that backs up to that phase 1 Diamond Estates. Most of those houses, it's interesting, like 1221 and 1241 are both right at the 25-foot minimum. The rest of them are a little further back, but that one is already like one of the closest houses to the fence line. So, looking at it, and I guess the big concern for us is the health safety of our horses out in the pasture. We do find things back in the pasture. Just last week, we found some potatoes back there. I don't know exactly where they came from, but those aren't good for horses. They're toxic actually, but is what it is. Just looking at it though, if they put that 10-foot extension on, that puts them, right at 15 feet, and per the comment, when they did build that subdivision, they did build up the land back there about 8 feet. So it's already looking down into the pasture, which is fine. But I think that just gets it really close to the fence line. So a little bit of a concern. There's a lot of dogs out there barking. That kind of, if there's people out there riding, is not always great, but understand them wanting to be able to have a usable back porch area. The document I sent in last night or this morning kind of shows the distances, but then also, if it was just 5 feet, I'd feel better about that. It does give them still 180 square feet of usable deck space. But it is kind of what it is. So that's just our perspective on it. Just wanted to share that.
Okay, I appreciate it, John. Thank you.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and do a second call for anyone from the public that wishes to speak or have any comments.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't see any additional hands raised at this moment.
Okay, so we'll do a third and final call for anyone that wishes to speak.
I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public
I'm
hearing.
sorry, we do have a hand. It's a phone number ending in 074. Looks like
Okay.
it just went up.
Okay,
So I
the
will, oh,
phone number ending at 074. Would you like to speak to the commission this evening? Are you there? The phone number ending in 074?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, would you just give us your name and your address and then any questions or comments that you wish to have for the commission?
Hi, I'm Barbara Alexander, and Mark Alexander is my husband. We live at 1221 Hope Street. We're the owner of the property. So, is that okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just wanted to call, maybe in response to our neighbor behind us. The reasoning for our deck extension is, of course, just it's my age and my tendency to fall. I can hardly get off the back with the steps down and then the grade down toward the fence. We just needed a nice, smooth, area butted up to the back of our little porch where we could just walk further out and enjoy our backyard, because soon I'm not going to be able to get down the steps to even get to the yard. But that would give us, and it would give me, a safe area and a covered area where we bought this as a retirement home, and not knowing how the backyard would end up at the time we bought it. We bought it before the land was even prepared, and we bought it for the retirement, and we just wanted that little, much more of an area where we could be outside. So that's all I wanted to say. And as for the horses, we love them. It's the reason we bought the property. We would never throw anything over the fence or do anything to hurt them, ever. So do you have any question for us as the owners?
I don't think we have any questions yet. There are a few things that we have to go through. There's 4 or 5 different elements that we'll go through. So you're welcome to listen. I don't know if it will create any questions. It might. So if you'd like to, to hang on the phone and listen, feel free to do that. We'll go through, we'll have some discussion points, and then from there we'll take a vote. Okay.
Thank you very much. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, Diane and Nicole, we'll go ahead and do a third and final call for anyone else that wishes to speak.
Double checking to make sure nobody sneaks up on me this time again. I do not see anyone's hands raised.
Okay, so now I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
This
This
is
is
John.
Ambrose.
Tony, I second.
Todd, I'll let you decide who gets the second, but we do have a motion and we have a second to close the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? All righty, let's go ahead, Nicole, and go forward to our fact findings. Before we go into the fact findings, let me go ahead and ask any of the commissioners if they have any questions or comments before we go through the elements here. All right, well, let's go ahead and go through them then. The first one is the preservation of intent, that the variance, if granted, is consistent with the purpose and intent of the regulations for the district in which the development is located. No variance shall have the effect of permitting a use in any district that is not stated permit, use, accessory use, or conditional use of that particular district. The applicant response, it's zoned. It will remain zoned as single family, consistent with the regulations. The variance requested for a planned 10 by 36-foot deck has been reviewed and approved by the neighborhood associations, architectural committee, and with the neighbors who have not expressed any concerns. Of course, we did have John that just shared a few tonight for us to consider. The deck and extension of the existing roof line for which the variance is requested does not alter the nature for which the property is zoned. Accordingly, the variance, if granted, is consistent with the purpose and intent of the regulations. The staff findings, the area is intended for residential neighborhoods with suitable lot area for single family and 2-family dwellings. The intent of the zoning district is also to maintain the required setbacks, lot widths, and lot areas consistently across the community. Uncovered or detached porches are considered accessory structures and may be allowed by code within 7 feet of the property line. So I would be interested in any of the commissioners' thoughts in regards to the preservation of intent.
Jeff, this is John. I see the staff findings mentioned uncovered or detached. Is there any precedence for I think this one is attached, right, and covered. Is there any difference there?
So the difference is if it's not attached and they were keeping it within the 7 feet, then we wouldn't be here this evening. Because it gets attached and it becomes a permanent structure, and it's going to encroach, is the reason that we have to consider this evening.
This is Lorraine, and that's in relation to the setback. With this encroaching into a utility easement, we don't allow accessory structures to encroach on a utility easement unless they are portable structures, not permanent structures.
And this attachment makes that permanent, right? So basically you're putting a permanent structure in the easement.
Correct. And certain slabs of certain sizes, the building department typically will check with the utility department. They can't be like footings or something that they can't easily get under or break through if they have to do something with their lines. So, but they don't want any structures built in their utility easements.
And I think John, in the 17 or 18 years that I've been on here, I'm aware of one other one. They just don't happen very often. And that's the reason that, the design and everything else is looked at. Any other thoughts from any of the commissioners or questions? Again, we don't have to have all yeses or nos in order to do the final evaluation at the end of it. I would also agree that, the intention is really around the fact that it would end up in the easement. That's the biggest thing that I struggle with as far as, the preservation of intent. Again, those are set up, up front. And of course, with this case, the electric company afterwards, obviously needing to protect that for the future. And so, with that, I kind of struggle with this one as well. So I would agree that, this would impede on the preservation of intent in regards to that. Does anybody disagree with that or have anything otherwise? Okay, let's go to the next one. And the next one is exceptional circumstances. That exceptional, extraordinary, or unusual conditions or circumstances applying to the lot, parcel, structure, or intended use exists that do not apply to other properties or uses in the same district, which are unique to the individual property under consideration. The response from the applicant is the property for which the variance is requested has a severe and steep downward slope that applies to this lot. The severe downward slope in the backyard is not a feature that uniformly applies to other homeowners in the neighborhood. The elderly couple are respectfully requesting the variance to construct the covered deck, which will be more than 25 feet from the utility easement, will allow for the homeowner to safely enjoy the area behind their home. The staff findings, the property does appear to have a downward slope. The estimate is 10 to 12% towards the rear lot. This may create a safety hazard for an individual, with mobility issues. However, the concrete or hard surface may be allowable as an accessory structure by code, the variance is required due to the permanent nature that we talked about before, attaching it to the residence. Thoughts on this one? I mean, I see that there's a slope.
Jeff, this is Joey. I don't know that I'd really consider that an exceptional circumstance. I mean, it was there when the house was constructed. It's probably raised up because the house was constructed there. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, if I'm looking at this picture, I mean, I understand there's a grade and I understand it's going down. It's not it's not what I would consider a drop per se, just based on the picture. And it's probably a little tough, but you have an angle. So it does take a gradual slope back is what it looks like to me, probably for a drainage perspective. Anybody have any other feedback on this?
Jeff, looking at it, it looks like it's several feet, power lines, a few feet behind the fence anyway. You already have a structure in the easement anyway with the fence line being there. So there already is a structure in the easement. Being just a 10-foot deck, personally to me, I think it's a benefit to the homeowner as far as her being able to actually have some freedom outside that she will probably be unable to have in the future. But I personally myself, I mean, it's an aerial power line. And if it goes underground, it's going to be bored. So I myself personally don't have any issue with it.
Okay. Well, again, we don't have to say yes or no to, all of these in order, or even agree to them in order to consider it and take a final vote. Tony, I don't know if we had roll call votes last time, but because it is a public hearing, we do allow for roll call votes as well. So, but I appreciate you, sharing the information. So I'm kind of aligned with, the fact there's not necessarily any exceptional circumstances in regards to here, understand that the lot does slope some, but nothing that would be out of the ordinary, especially since the house, was built to the full width in regards to this one. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Hardships, not grounds for variance, that the special conditions and or circumstances do not result from the intended or proposed action of the applicant. No variance may be granted solely on the basis of economic gain or loss. The applicant's response was not applicable in this particular case. And just the staff finding is the staff does not feel the exceptional circumstances resulted from the applicant's intended action, not that the request is solely on the basis of economic loss or gain. And I would say this one's not for any kind of, gain, or potentially loss. So I don't know that we've ever come across a not applicable, but, in this case, I think we could just agree to the fact that, it doesn't necessarily create a hardship in regards to gain or loss. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay. The next one is the preservation of property rights. That literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of substantial rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this ordinance. The applicant's response, given the steep downward slope of the yard, literal interpretation resulting in denial of the homeowner's request for the variance would deprive the homeowner of the ability to realize the full use and enjoyment of their property, consistent with others in their neighborhood. In the staff findings, apart from a sloping yard, distinctive, unusual, or unique circumstances or physical features of the parcel have not been identified that would deprive the owner of substantial rights enjoyed by other properties in the neighborhood or surrounding district. Any of the commissioners' thoughts on this one? So I would agree that, we don't know the total picture of the entire neighborhood, so we don't necessarily know if there's, this is the only house, if there's 15 houses, we don't necessarily know, the entire neighborhood or even, the folks around them. So, again, nothing necessarily, out of the ordinary in regards to, the yard or anything else. So, in regards to that one, I would say that there's not anything that's out of the ordinary in regards to that, that would be in regards to their rights as far as enjoying the yard. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one, Todd. That granting the variance requested will not create substantial detriment to the adjacent property or that will materially impair or be contrary to the purpose and spirit of this chapter or the public interest. The applicant's response: the homeowners have reviewed and obtained the approval by their associations in regards to in the neighborhood as far as the architectural and the covenants. The neighborhood associations committee found the changes aesthetically consistent with the existing homes. The homeowners discussed the plans with neighbors who did not object to the changes. Accordingly, the variance requested will not create a detriment to any adjacent property owners or materially impair or is contrary to the existing regulations or the public interest. Staff findings granting of this variance may be found to be contrary to the public interest. Zoning requirements are established to maintain consistency throughout the community and avoid arbitrary decisions. However, this request will not compromise the intended density of the R2 zoning. Any commissioners' thoughts on this one? I know this is one that we always struggle with because of the, being consistent in regards to the, the easements and everything that's, in a subdivision for a reason. And so, again, understand that they got the approval from the, the architectural committee and the others in the neighborhood. But, from a public interest, if they had to get in there, this could certainly impose on that. Does anybody have any other comments about this one?
I mean, Jeff, I agree with you. If it's getting into the easement, I think that could be a detriment. And I think you said it earlier. I think that's a point of, that's about the only thing I'm hanging my hat on here is the easement issue. I think that could be a big deal in the future. And if we approve this tonight as is, I think that sets a precedent moving forward.
Okay.
And Jeff, I don't know if this is the right time in the hearing, but I know before in similar instances, we've asked if there's any kind of compromise to the design that the owner would like to propose. Maybe a non-permanent structure or a non-covered structure, or a deck with a pergola or an umbrella, whatever. I'm not telling you how to build your house, but is that something that we would offer at this point or to discuss with the homeowner? Is this our 10 feet, 5 feet, kind of those compromises that we kind of discuss amongst us?
Yeah, I was about to go there in just a second.
I'm sorry, I don't get ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Just about there.
I've got a question for clarification.
Yes, sir.
If this was not attached, let's say the deck abuts the home, but is quote not attached, then we wouldn't even be talking about this, right? This wouldn't even be coming before us.
Correct. And they could go within 7 feet. So they could actually go the bigger.
They'd have to
Excuse
go
me.
through the building department to get permitted, but go ahead, Lorraine.
They will not be able to build in a utility easement. If it was not there, yes, they could go within 7 feet, but it could not be like a permanent structure. It could not be, you know, a slab that can't be moved or easily dug out. You know, the utilities, we had problems with the little 10-foot slab on the back of the homes extending into a utility easement at one time. And so they said, okay, yeah, you know, that's all right, as long as there's not a lot of rebar and, you know, part of the structural foundation and all of that. Some of these, you know, patios are part of the structural foundation, but it does, the building department will figure out what type of slab, what type of building they are constructing. But mainly on accessory structures, it would have to be portable if there's any type of easements in that area. Otherwise, they could go within the 7 feet.
So if this wasn't this wasn't a concrete floor slab, if they just put a wooden deck, a covered wooden deck, then they wouldn't have to come to us if they abutted it. So the whole thing is the concrete and the attachment, right? It's what I understand is why we're trying to decide this.
If they did a wooden deck and did not attach the cover to the house, then they could do that. As
Okay.
long as
Yeah.
they stay out of they could go 5 feet.
Because then technically if the deck is on footers, it's mobile, right? You could pick the deck up and move it off the footers,
Mhm.
right? Without it being on a slab and connected to the house. Okay.
Right, they can extend what they have 5 feet.
And Lorene, is that also true? So let me get back to the diagram, because the utility easement is only 10 feet from the property line. The Carroll
No,
easement is 20 feet.
that's
So
a
so that's,
utility easement though. It's just
but it's just owned by Carroll. It was granted just to Carroll.
right, but whenever we have overhead power lines that are like SWEPCO or Carroll or any of that, or gas lines, we still don't allow encroachments in those easements.
But does the city,
But you've
Have
already
anything
allowed
to do
encroachment
with-
by the fence line, right?
Those are things that the utility company allowed in there, but
So, I mean, I'm just wanting clarification. So we already have encroachment by a fence line. So Carroll can actually still, I guess, maintain their lines outside their fence line. They've still got adequate space, I take it. Because I don't see them removing fences or going in for any maintenance. I'm assuming that they're maintaining their line from outside on the opposite end of the fence line, on the opposite side of the fence.
Diane, when you spoke to Carroll, what specifically did they say? That they'd need to come in and check their lines, but did they mention that they'd be open to something like this, or I guess, what did they say?
They said they were going to go out and measure. Let me see if I can find that email real quick. He said they were going to go out and measure to see if it was going to be outside the 15 feet. Let me make sure that is correct. Hang on just a second. Let me check my email here real fast, because I just heard from them today. Let me see where I stuck it in my email. Sorry, I probably should have had this pulled up and I didn't. They said, let's see. Here we go. Said that the request to reduce a 25-foot rear building setback by 11 feet would leave 14 feet to the rear property line. If the location of our line on the plat is accurate, we are just west of the rear property line, so it may be possible that the 15 feet of clearance would be met. He will have someone run to get measurements on this and let me know what they find out. And I have not heard anything back from them today.
so is Carroll within their 20 feet for their overhead?
Lorene, it probably goes on both sides of the property line.
Well, this was a new line that was run. I understood this was the phase 3 line that ran to the lift station. Frank, is that correct?
We also have Doug Albert with his hand raised. He's the adjacent property owner. He may be able to say whether Carol got an easement on his property as well. If you'd like to hear his comment, Jeff.
Oh, is that John?
Doug Albert.
No, Doug, I'm the builder.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug.
Oh, no,
Doug
no.
has his hand raised.
Yeah, it's all right.
Did you have something to say?
If it's okay, I'm looking at the right-of-way easement agreement, and it looks like the 20-foot has more to do with tree structures. They also got in the agreement, it says, you further agree that no structure shall be erected within 15 feet of the finally constructed center line. So if the finally constructed center line would be where the poles are, then we're still less than 15 feet from where they're at.
And that's what I wanted to respond to also. We provided a corridor in the front for most of the utilities. This one was a special 3-phase corridor that was put there. When we're taking a corridor in the front and a corridor in the back, we're really killing these people's property, and accommodating that allowable corridor is really where we should be.
Rick, that wasn't our doing on taking up the back easement.
I agree, Lorraine, 100%. I agree that was a special corridor that they provided.
Well, it's kind of happening all over on different subdivisions.
Yeah, I know.
That it comes in after the fact, and it kills
the property, doesn't it?
Yes, and it's very hard to plan around. We have some on the front.
I agree. We have no control over it when they come in afterwards and utilize these corridors like that. But
but we should be able to control them because they do a permit, do they not?
I don't know that they do.
So I'm just trying to picture how that sits on here, or is it diagrammed any way to see if they would be within what's listed on there? So I'm trying to do the math. Does that make sense?
I think it all evolves off of their 15-foot that they're requiring from their actual construction.
So, yeah, what I'm trying to do though, Rick, is figure out based on this if they would be outside of that.
I don't think we have enough details to determine that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think it's on us to determine that either, Jeff. That's on Carol.
Okay.
And I don't know if they've sent anybody out there today or not. That was just the email that I received this morning from Carroll Electric.
I think we're basing everything off the property line, not off the actual construction line. So until we get that, it's kind of in limbo.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go forward, Nicole, to the to number 3, which is any conditions of approval. So I see potentially 2, actually there's 3, I guess. 1, because we don't have all of the required information. One of our options would certainly be to table this and consider it at a future meeting, which does mean that the applicant would need to do the notifications and everything else again, similar to what they did. So that's option 1. Of course, our second option would be to approve. And then our third option would be to deny. If we deny, then Lorraine, I didn't ask today, is there an opportunity, how long before they would have to come back to us, or is it a permanent decision?
Well, if you deny this request, I don't know that there's any time limit that they have to wait to come back to you all.
Okay.
But if you table this, then it does not have to be re-advertised, republished or anything
Okay.
either.
Okay. Good to know.
I think your question, Jeff, maybe, I think we came up with an item once in the not too distant past where there was a calendar year that had to pass or some length of time, if I remember right.
That's zoning.
Zoning, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those are the three options that we have. Doug, would your preference be for us to, I would give you the opportunity to ask us to table it, or we can consider approval or denial this evening?
I guess my biggest question is it's kind of depending on what Carroll decides, is what's their build line. I mean, it's kind of like a fine line where it is. I think their poles are out, like a foot out behind the fence line right now, and I'm not actually sure if the fence line's the property line. If it's depending on that, I'd almost rather it tabled and we could look at it next month after Carroll comes back. I don't know if there's a way for you, if you were going to approve it based on what their findings are. I don't know if that makes it just 10 times more complex. We can always build a little bit smaller. 5 foot would be kind of hard to do, but we could work out something, maybe make the roof a little shorter or whatever. But we've got some flexibility. Obviously, they'd really like just to have the deck space. I don't know if that answers it or makes it harder.
The thing is, if I go down the path of a motion and somebody makes a motion to deny it, and that's what the vote is, then it just changes what you guys have to do.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards you guys doing the due diligence and maybe coming back and presenting some additional information that may help us, make a little bit more educated decision. Is kind of where I'm at. But I would also open it up to my other commissioners if you guys have any thoughts as well, or any kind of guidance, as far as how you guys are feeling. Then it may also help the three options this evening. So I would also open it up to any of the commissioners.
Jeff, this is John. I would like to actually get Carol's findings before a vote of approval or denial, either way. But there again, I've asked the owner to consider the compromises that we talked about. What makes this a permanent versus a non-permanent structure? If you don't attach it, you have more options there. That wouldn't even require our approval. So maybe that's something to consider while we wait for Carol's response.
This is Tony. I agree with John. I'm for tabling it right now until we get clarification on the true measurements.
This is Jerry. I make a motion to table this issue and give the owner and the builder time to rethink it and look it over and come back.
John, I'll second the motion.
All right, we do have a motion and we have a second to table. Are any of the commissioners opposed? Okay. We will consider this tabled, and we will wait for additional information and or the potential for a some kind of compromise, I'll call it, if you will, based on the comments and the information that was shared this evening. So thank you guys for applying, and this has been tabled until it can come before us with the additional information that we requested.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next meeting is TBD, and then potentially the second, so we can approve the minutes from this evening. And then with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to adjourn the BZA meeting.
This is
Dan,
John, second.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second to adjourn the BZA meeting. Is anyone opposed? All right, let's go ahead and move to the Planning Commission meeting. And I'll go ahead and call the Centerton Planning Commission of January 19th, 2021 to order with a roll call.
Tony Davis,
Here.
Jerry Harris,
Here.
Amber Beal,
Here.
Joey Engel,
Here.
Ben Lewis,
Here.
Don Sessoms,
Here.
Devin Murphy,
Here.
Craig Langford is absent, and Jeff Seifarth.
Jeff still here. All right, first thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the planning minutes from 1/5 of 2021.
This is John. I'll motion to approve the minutes from 1/5 of 2021 Planning Commission meetings.
This is Amber. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Anyone opposed? All right. First thing on the agenda this evening is just the, I guess some overview, if you will, of the ratification for the administrative approvals. Lorraine, I didn't ask you earlier. Do you want us to do these individual or do you want us to approve these all in one?
You could do them all as one motion unless someone has an issue with one of them.
Okay. Was your plan to give us an overview? We didn't prepare very well for this today. I apologize for that. Did you want to give us any overview on these or just ask if we had any questions?
I would have to defer to Nicole. These are usually handled. I'm going to look them over.
Yeah, I think the idea behind adding this new section, ratification of administrative approvals, is putting those items that get administrative approval kind of into a group. And they're in your Dropbox for you guys to look at. And if you have any questions, you can bring them up in the meeting. But otherwise, the idea is that you can ratify them all together as a group.
Perfect.
Is that right, Lorraine?
Yes, and on the ones that we put in this category versus like in a new business are those that we don't feel have any issues, concerns. If we do, then I'll definitely make a note of those. So these did not have any, like the track split did not have any dedication of right of way that I understood also, or easements. So.
Perfect.
Is that correct, Diane?
Not for the city. They are dedicating an additional 15 feet of right of way, but that will be to the county. And that does match our master street plan for Noah Road. They just did that themselves. It was nice.
Okay. I was just asking because last time I think we got a little bit of overview, but we're fine. So are there any questions from any of the commissioners in regards to the three items for ratification for administrative approvals this evening? If there's no questions, then I would entertain a motion for us to ratify these for admin approval.
All right. I like our new system here. This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve track split 2018, home occupation 2101, home occupation 2102.
Devin, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Thank you guys for doing that. I figured Joey would appreciate that. Under old business this evening, we have track split 20-14. This is the Bank of Gravette. It's just east of the neighborhood market. Diane, was there an update on this for us or?
Yes, I think we have finally gotten most things straightened out with the city of Bentonville. Because if you guys recall, this property, it is within the city of Centerton, but it has Bentonville Utilities, at least for the water and sewer. And I learned after you guys had approved this that the city of Bentonville has a requirement that any property that they are providing water and sewer to cannot go across another piece of property. So they've had to do kind of a quirky flag lot from their rear property to Highway 102. We still have a couple things we have to clear up. First of all, there was one thing that Lorraine had asked about. It's not showing on this plat, but on the plat that I just received this evening. They are showing all of the building setback lines, which I did request. For the back, they show 50 feet, like a typical front property line would be. Lorraine did bring up the question that since it does not face another house, it is a development, and it's not going to be on the street. Do you guys want to keep it the 50 feet? Would you entertain, 25 feet or 10 feet? That's just something for y'all to consider. Let's see, that's the biggest change from last time. And they do have a drainage easement, and there is an access easement and also utility. It is a private access easement along with utilities and then an electric utility on this side. There still are a couple of small things that need to be cleared up and asked of CEI, like who the easements are going to go to. And also I need to contact Bentonville Utilities and find out who would need to be on a signature block with the city of Bentonville for the utility side of this track split. It's kind of been a fun one.
Okay. So,
But that's the biggest change from when you guys saw it before is that it's hard to see in this, but there is, I don't know why I pointed to it on my computer because you can't see it. But down the center of the access easement, there's like a 9.5 foot flag lot. Thank you, Nicole. That widens out at the end to pick up the utilities over here also. Thank you, Nicole.
so what action do you need us to take this evening?
It would need to be, please correct me if I'm wrong, Lorraine, reapproved by you guys. Because it hasn't gone to city council. Once I learned the issue with the city of Bentonville, I just kind of stopped it and told them, I said, you'll need to start over.
Does this meeting or this diagram in this meeting just, we talked about and we knew there'd be a flag lot in the last meeting. Does this just identify that flag lot and allow us for approval of it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of a quirky one, I know.
And so the waiver that's on here, was that previously, or is that
That-
something?
That was something you guys approved previously. I probably should have removed it to cause less confusion, but yes, you guys did approve the waiver last time.
Okay. Are there any questions or thoughts from any of the commissioners in regard to this updated track split?
I don't have any on the specific layout, but as far as the setbacks go, I would be okay with something with us reducing that setback in the front since it is not fronting a road. Now the specifics on that, 10 feet, that sounds fine. Yeah. I don't know, would that be a variance when that development came back through?
I think we could probably call that a side setback because that 10 feet is side. Is that right, Lorraine? Because it, like you said, it's not a typical front setback because it's not adjacent to a road. Is that right, Lorraine?
Yes, just as long as there is, that it's sufficient space between the buildings. One thing Okay, on the other parcels, is there a rear setback?
Yes, it is not shown. It's shown on the one they just turned this afternoon. That was one of my comments on this one, that they needed to show the building setbacks.
Okay, that's why this one looks different.
Yes, that's why.
Okay,
So we didn't get it until like after 4 o'clock this afternoon. So
okay. Yes, and we tried to determine, what did we we measured that this access easement, utility easement was approximately 18 feet
let me look at,
going back.
let me get up.
Yeah, so from the property line to the top of the easement was 18 feet, I believe.
Yes.
So does the 10 feet work for you then, Lorraine, Nicole, Diane?
It seems fairly close to me, but just because I'm just thinking of the way the layout is, but it might be doable.
Well, and I think
It could-
technically their front setback would come off the road with their flag lot, and then they would have side setbacks off of each side of that flag lot. So
Mhm.
essentially that would nullify that flag portion, and it would be sides everywhere else. So I don't think this is anything different that would require a variance. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, I'd just be concerned. I would not want to call the rear of this lot, though. You're saying keep the rear adjacent to, okay, the residential is.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 6 side setbacks, a front setback, and a rear setback. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm. Well, they're removing that property line, right? Yeah, that's one big tract.
Yeah, I was counting 2 on each side of the flag lot.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Joey? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. If there's no other questions, then I would entertain a motion for the track split 2014 for the Bank of Gravit.
This is Ben. I make a motion to approve track split 20-14 Bank of Gravit.
This Jerry, second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Thank you, guys. Next on the agenda this evening is track split 20-19, the Womax edition replat combination. This is the Centerton Utilities admin building. This is 517 North Main. It's C1 and R3, 5.04 acres, and it is 2 lots. Diane, are you going to do this one as well? Or are you going to make
Yes.
Frank do it?
No, I'm not going to make Frank do it. No, it's mine. I have been up to my eyeballs in track splits lately. They are having to replat this as part of their development, which of course this bigger piece of property here is where the City of Centerton Utilities Administration building is going in. If you guys recall from way back when with the development, this property is kind of carved up into several different lots from the original Womax edition. There we go. So what they're doing is they are replatting into lot 1B, which again is where the administration building is going in. And the little triangular piece that kind of hangs down below it, they are creating that as a new lot 1A, which will be given to the city for the City of Centerton cemetery. So that way the cemetery has a little bit more space and it cleans up everything that's changed and been vacated and everything over the past, who knows, probably 100 years. So we did request that they do that as a condition of their development. And there are still a couple outstanding comments. This one's looking pretty good. We did ask CEI, and I believe that Brandon's on the call also, to verify where the headstones are located in relation to right of way, and they've asked for utility easement, and they are going to remove that utility easement because the water line is actually in the right of way, again, because of the close proximity of the graves, or at least the headstones. And I believe that Brandon emailed this afternoon, and Brandon, if you're on here, feel free to respond that the closest headstone is 6 to 8 feet from the right of way shown on here. Is that correct, Brandon?
Yes, that's correct. This is Brandon Rush with Engineering Services. It kind of varies through there, but 6 is the closest. So they're 6 feet west of that proposed right-of-way line. And
Again, this is
as you go south, it gets to be closer to 8 feet.
Okay. So when they provide their new updated plat, this easement will be removed. So that way we don't have to worry about anybody encroaching on any of the grave sites. Let's see.
I just want to confirm, because the water line looks like it's not quite being shown within the right of way. I just want to double check on that.
Frank has identified where that water line is, and it's actually east in the right of way a little bit. So when we revise this, we will also move the water line into the right of way.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Diane, this is Frank.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when we dug up to locate the water line for the new driveway coming in, verified it actually veered out and went into the ditch, which is out in the right of way. At the same time, we found a high pressure gas main that was there as well. So it also veers out and goes around the cemetery in the right of way.
Okay, so it's also located in the right of way.
Yes.
Now, is that shown on here anywhere, the gas main?
I don't think it is.
I don't believe it is. Another task for you, Brandon. And then, so some of my comments, there is an existing water and sewer easement along this very western side of the parcels that is within the flood area there. And there's not going to be any development within that area. Of course, the Centerton Utilities are going to donate this parcel to the city for the cemetery. Of course, I'm assuming that graves probably cannot be in the flood zone unless it's a crypt. But we do find that the plat to be in conformance with the Centerton Municipal Code contingent on the remaining staff comments being addressed. So it's just kind of some cleanup things and the verification of where those headstones and grave sites are located on this eastern edge. I know they're pretty close to the road.
Diane, what about the comments that John states that he's waiting on?
Let's see. I just received comments from, I think, the comments I received were, let me see, I just received some back again today. And with the comments today, he did say that they at least answered the comments that were provided to them. Looking to see where all my papers are. They're scattered all over the place. Yes, so his comments have been um, provided, and I finally did receive them. They were minor on this submittal.
Okay.
I'll get my brain screwed on correctly in a minute.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Still some outstanding comments, but I think a lot of it's the cleanup work. If there are not any comments or questions, then I would entertain a motion for the track split 2019, the Womax edition replat and combination at the Centerton Utilities Admin Building.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve track split 2019, contingent upon all outstanding staff comments.
This is John, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you guys. All right, under other business, looks like a quick update on the Bentonville Master Street Plan.
Yes, so as we were coordinating with Bentonville during both our process and their process to update the master street plans, we had kind of talked through a couple of possible minor revisions to our plan, most of which are just updating their roads in their jurisdiction to what they're now showing, all of which we had discussed and aligns with our plans, except for a possibility to downgrade Townview to a major collector. Right now it's being shown as a major arterial. And we did that well, prior to making this connection from SEBA to Highway 72, and also in the meantime, because that connection is going to be very difficult and will need a bit of doing and is probably pretty far in the future. But this does not connect to 8th Street, and there's not a plan to connect to 8th Street because there's subdivisions there. So it doesn't connect to another arterial anyway. So the discussion was downgrading it to a major collector. And there's also been discussion, the way that this proposed major collector is being shown. Originally, we were thinking it would align with Easy Street, but it's really close to curves. And since then, we've had some discussions with staff and feel that it should shift a little bit and possibly align with, what is that? Talmore to the north. And it would also straighten out that major collector. Rick or Lorene, I don't know if either of you want to chime in or correct me if I'm wrong on anything, but that was pretty much the only change. I'll give them a second to chime in. Did you guys want to chime in before I propose one more thing?
I personally feel it's just a natural evolution of where we need to be, and it's not the last. Things are constantly changing. I read an article today where Bill Gates owns 76,000 acres of farmland in Arkansas. We never know what's going to change from day to day, and we have to be able to evolve.
I'm sorry.
So I think it's a good evolution, and it's where we need to be.
Thank you, Rick. And while I have you, I want to apologize because I was supposed to get with you this afternoon on a potential other consideration that's come up recently, and that's possibly considering a minor arterial to connect Allen to Main Street through our proposed, and we're going to have this discussion next about the new downtown center, but providing an area for more outlets in that kind of intensive proposed area. And it would be a minor collector. Do you have any thoughts on that, Rick?
South of 102, Is that what we're?
Correct. Right. Between
Okay.
102 and Kimmel.
That's very possible. That's very possible. It could happen. And I think it would be something we need to look at in the future.
Maureen, did you have a thought? or-
Well, to clarify, you had said a minor arterial and then a
Oh.
minor collector. We are discussing a collector, which it would be an 80-foot right of way.
Right. Minor collector, I think is what is that? And I'm sorry if I said arterial. Are you agreeing?
I think a
Yes.
minor collector is very possible myself. I think it should be something we look at.
And just to clarify, this is just a high level discussion at this point. To do these revisions, we have to take it back through public hearing and post it in the newspaper, and we'll take it to staff and get comments on those two minor revisions. But we also wanted to get your guys' thoughts before we get too far along, and go from there.
They seem to make sense. That little collector, I'll call it, up there, whether it aligns with Talamar or Easy Street or whatever. There's the side, I guess I'll call it the east side of that fence in regards to the soccer fields and whatnot. That might be where it would go, which almost aligns with it's just slightly east of where Talamar lines up. Does that make sense?
I'm excited about that one, Jeff. That's going to take some bridges. And I love bridges, but that will take some bridges and some deep valleys back there. But yes, there needs to be a connection there. I agree.
It might take less time than your stoplight, so don't ever discount it.
The way we're going, I kind of doubt that.
That's too soon, Jeff.
Any other commissioners' thoughts on those? I think they all pretty much make sense. Okay, so silence, Nicole, would mean agreement in my book. Okay, Nicole, you good if we move on to the downtown center?
Yes, unless Rick or Lorraine have anything to add to that discussion, I'm okay moving on.
So, go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just saying very good presented.
So I'm going to preface this before Nicole jumps in, because we always struggle sometimes with getting some discussion. There's been some inquiries around, what this looks like, what this means, kind of what the vision is. And so Nicole wanted to bring it up this evening for input, if you will. And again, just kind of a high level, sharing with us, what the vision was whenever the comp plan was put together, and then open up the opportunity for any discussion or thoughts from any of the commissioners as well, especially as we continue to get inquiries about, what does a new downtown look like? So I just wanted to preface that, Nicole. So with that, you want to just give us a brief overview?
This is Jerry. Just a second. This is Jerry. I need to recuse myself from discussion here because that piece of property has a personal interest to me. So I, at this point, recuse myself.
All right. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, so I in the Dropbox, I kind of went through and pulled out from the comp plan all the various places that the new downtown center is mentioned. And it's mentioned pretty much throughout the comp plan because it was a pretty big idea in the comp plan. And we've received a lot of positive feedback about it and excitement for it. I guess challenge now is the next steps and seeing kind of how to flesh this out. And the comp plan recommends a couple of things. That we need to get some districts created in order to kind of really realize this. especially the capability or the kind of mixed use capacity for it, and plazas and things, open space, things like that. But then secondly, to do a kind of more focused area study, similar to the comp plan, but really focus in on this district, and possibly Centerton Boulevard as kind of a commercial corridor that ties into it. But until we have that, all we have at the moment is what's stated in the comp plan, which to our understanding and interpretation is that this is primarily a commercial district, but it does allow for mixed use. It wants to see, you know, a mixture of uses. But we also have a bunch of high density residential districts surrounding it. So this is kind of the commercial core. And so I guess we're bringing it to you guys tonight twofold, just to make sure that our interpretation aligns with yours, and then also to talk about next steps in possibly getting focus groups together or a committee together to start turning the wheels on a new downtown center area study. Does that make sense?
Were you going to go through the other slides as well before you open it up to us, or?
I can. I actually don't know that I guess I included the matrix, which kind of summarizes, it pulls the statements from the plan into the matrix, and I'll probably need to zoom in. Is this way too small for everybody?
I think we can see the highlighted points, which is kind of what you wanted to see, right?
Yes. So it encourages, would you like me to go through just to kind of summarize the downtown district?
I think you could read bits and pieces and we would understand. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're encouraging high density residential development along key corridors and surrounding the new downtown center to support the nearby commercial uses. So when commercial development comes in, they always look at rooftops. So that's that high density residential mixed into, but also adjacent. Encourage multi-story mixed-use development in the new downtown center with residential and office spaces on the upper floors above ground floor retail, restaurant, and service activities. So again, it's that mixed-use structure. It's not just a mixed-use area. It's the structure has commercial, retail, office, residential. Prioritize a higher density of residential infill development using compatible design standards to support the new downtown business district. So it's just talking about design standards, compatible design standards. Establishing the new downtown center as the city's active commercial hub. Utilize mixed use development to provide space for local retailers, restaurants, and entertainment providers on the ground floor with multifamily apartments and condominiums above. Plan and develop uses to prioritize a vehicular access while still accommodating pedestrians. So then it's starting to get into the mixed uses, but also mixed mobility within the spaces. Establish the new downtown center as the focal point for the community activity. Conduct a more detailed study of the new downtown center's market potential and development opportunity to determine the best approach for creating this desired area in Centerton. So again, that's that further study. Redevelop the adjacent residential areas to the east and west to accommodate higher density and situate more residents near the new downtown center. So that's just prioritizing infill and getting that density you need to support the center. Emphasize and ensure pedestrian mobility and safety in the new downtown center. Prioritize non-motorized transportation in the new downtown center with sidewalks, crosswalks, and bike routes. And then ensure buildings in the new downtown center are placed along the front property line, have traditional facade design elements, and support retail or restaurant uses appealing to users from and throughout the community and beyond. And then to ensure the public realm in the new downtown center includes high quality streetscapes, sidewalks, and attractive civic spaces. So that's getting to kind of the gathering spaces, plazas, streetscapes. So that in a nutshell is what we have for this district.
So is this property, most or all of it owned by one property owner, the property we're talking about?
No, it's at least two.
At least two.
Mhm.
So does any of the discussion of this vision that the city has start there with those property owners, or what are our thoughts there?
Todd, I'll chime in. I mean, that's exactly where my mind went. I envision something, that people are going to want to walk to, bike to, come park, walk around, have a bunch of different opportunities down here to eat, to hang out, to shop, office, residential on top would be awesome. But at the same time, I don't see that happening in chunks. One development here, one development here. I almost see this as one opportunity for a large development to come in and kind of set the framework on how we lay that out. And I've never seen that done before, and how you market that without piecing it out and creating that kind of divisiveness between the developments. It's almost like we want a master plan for this area.
Right.
So I don't know how we do that from a planning perspective.
I believe you're exactly right, Joey, that we need to start looking at a master plan, creating a master plan. And Nicole, I'll let Nicole get into the discussion of a committee and working towards that. So is kind of what we were looking at. But we wanted to make sure that we get your feeling of what you see in this as this downtown city.
I was personally just kind of curious if we're all kind of, I mean, this is probably a poor terminology, but we're all held hostage by this idea that this large retail building is going to be built there one day. And we approach that property owner and say, hey, if that's not going to happen, then here's what we would like to see in the city. If there's something that we could, together that we can do here.
Todd, I think the big thing there would be, the committee would have to determine, in my mind, that the committee would be part of determining, who and how they would reach out, to the next, whether it's the landowner or whether it was, whatever the best next steps were, I think would be a part of that committee. And then, ultimately the decision, whether it was the mayor, whether it was, the planning committee, whoever it was that would come together, to potentially approach, the owner. I think this is a huge opportunity. I mean, for a group of folks, whether that's, I think it's citizens, I think it's business owners, I think it's, just a great opportunity to, kind of redefine, where the city's at. And I think, the fact that you can see it when you come into town is in my mind one of the best features, because you can have some focal points around it. And that's where I like this varying landscape, if you will, small, taller buildings, kind of intertwined, in the ability for gathering and some other things. I think that's huge. I do think it's going to take a few folks with a vision, if you will, to at least put some things down on paper as we continue to get inquiries. And so I appreciate Jerry stepping up and saying, hey, I need to recuse myself, but also for the group, understand that we've had similar discussions, Nicole, myself, I think Lorraine was probably a part of it, around what does this look like, and how can we discuss it, if you will, and portray that vision, without having something that's, down on paper or something that's been discussed. So that's the reason that it's before us, this evening, to at least have some discussion, and then, what's the future look like to help define it.
I just want to say one thing. I agree, and I see the vision, and I love the vision of what we're doing. But say we're looking at this 40-acre section on the south end of this. What if a developer comes in and wants to build apartments there or wants to build homes there, and this property owner has a chance to sell this? How do we hold them all hostage to our vision of what this is going to be? It's a possibility for both of them to make money and both of them to build something that's needed or something like that. But how do we hold them hostage to this fact that this is the only thing you can build?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go too, Rick. It cuts both ways for sure.
Yeah, and we've been kind of working through this. Had a long conversation today with regional planning to get their insight. I mean, essentially, that's why you create a plan, right? You create your comprehensive plan so that you have a tool that guides your decisions, that kind of shows strategic areas for uses that the community needs. We have to have commercial, and we have to have places where that commercial can go in order to function as a city. That's our money maker, right? We don't make very much money at all on rooftops. And if we keep allowing residential in areas that we carve out for commercial, it pushes the commercial further and further out to where it's unusable or, unwanted. That's not to negate anything you guys are saying, because you have to weigh the property owner, desire with the community's plan. But ultimately, the plan, Lorraine, I don't know if you want to jump in. I can't remember the words that they used.
Well, they encourage that if we have this comprehensive plan, and that was a big part of this comprehensive plan, that, the Planning Commission and the council continue to support this. And, if this isn't what you want, then you got to change your plan. Otherwise, they suggested, we did tell them that our zoning code does need work, and, so that we can put in what we see as, a zoning district for this area and get that added to the zoning code. But I remember years ago on the corner of Greenhouse and 102, and Tony wasn't on the commission, but he brought up, if we don't start reserving some commercial areas, we're not going to have anything but strip centers all the way down, and that's what everyone wants to do. They want to do a little strip piece of commercial on the front and residential behind it.
My only thing is
regional planning was very supportive of the Planning Commission and council supporting this. And Rick, I do understand, and that's why our concern was, what about the property owner that's trying to sell their property?
Yeah.
So that's why, we wanted to, work on this and see what the committee comes up with, see how we can help, start driving some interest in this area also, so that this isn't just a false dream. And otherwise, they said if you don't follow your plan, you might as well not even have one, was basically what they said. And they said that any time in the courts, they call it arbitrary and capriciously, that the court just basically, if someone files a lawsuit against the Planning Commission or council, the city, that it gets turned back to the Planning Commission, and they would rather you not violate your plan. If you continue to violate your plan, then they say you don't need it. And of course, they won't support anything on that. But the Private Property Protection Act, he said, has not been successful in Arkansas. And I'm not saying all of this to say we don't care about the property owner, because we do. And that's why we want to get started on this and look into this and see what we can do.
And that's it, Lorraine. I wanted for this property owner to have somebody come in and not be able to say, this is the only thing you can sell it for sell it to us for this. I wanted to say, this is what's going to be good for the city and good for you too.
Well, I can tell you in the past, I've worked on something similar to this. And I don't know if we can still do it today, but Lorraine mentioned the word districts. And in the past, there's been TIF districts, there've been overlay districts. I think in Jonesboro, they had a commercial district. So I think there is a way to go about doing this. I'm not exactly sure what that way is currently with the new rules in place. And it did benefit the property owner because it actually increased the value of their property, because this was designated that only this type of development can occur on this type of property. It was a zoning district type, I guess.
It's a type of improvement district.
So I think there's tools, what Rick was asking. I think there are tools out there to do it. I'm just not exactly what they are.
And that's part of what this committee would do. I've also got some context where I've seen them redeveloping areas, large areas in downtowns of Rogers and Springdale and so forth. And so I was wanting to contact them and, how do we get started on this? What do we need to do? So, and also,
absolutely,
I'm sure that they had a plan done first. And that's where, I just don't know how much time this property owner has that's wanting to sell some of this, or what we can do. So we just need to look into options for sure. And the sooner the better.
And Jeff, I would kind of echo some of that. One of the comments that someone just made is, if you don't have a plan, then what's the use of having a plan and sticking to that comprehensive plan? We just used that same mentality. Maybe it was the last meeting or the meeting prior, where the company wanted to build duplexes on commercial land, and we used that exact same terminology to table that discussion to say, are we willing to give up commercial land for more rooftops? Essentially, what it came down to. I think you're kind of in that same ballpark with this, aren't you? Are we willing to deviate from the plan? Right?
We just want to make sure that we're not hurting the property owners sitting there with that land and not being able to make a profit off of it.
Absolutely. And I don't know that much about the difference between the profits this landowner is going to get from selling it to commercially developed land or residential. I'm not that versed enough to know the difference in land value there.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, John, is this one doesn't have some of the definitions that commercial or business park or some others are defined. This one is certainly a little more visionary, which I think, to Lorraine's point, it's going to require some work quickly, sooner than later, to kind of develop what that vision is, and that's the reason for kind of an urgency to get a committee, to get started, and then, to kind of put that together. So I think that's, part of it. And Lorraine, I don't know if there would be any, grants or anything, that would be out there, from an economic development perspective that might help us, get somebody that would be more professional. Not that I want to, this thing to take 2 years, but there may be something out there that might help us, similar to, the grant that we got for the House of Levine, people that do this for a living versus, a committee of folks that, would be almost in my mind, if you're not careful, it'd be like herding cats in some ways. And I don't know that it gets us where we want. So I would just also encourage, let's go look at that to see if there may be some opportunity there to, to tap into some things and that may help from a vision perspective.
I would agree with Jeff on that, just for the fact it's not like you guys have a bunch of spare time in the staff just to sit around and put a vision together. I see the sets of plans rolling in for all the developments that are going on.
Yes, we are inundated with work right now. And that's why we're coming to you, wanting to put together a committee that can look into this and, you know, assist with doing some of this legwork. And like I said, which will, I would say, involve a study, you know, a detailed study. And when they put the comp plan together, House of Levine knew that these kind of things would take a separate study to do because they are so involved. But like you mentioned, economic development and so forth, and those are the resources that, you know, I want to look at and what we can do. We just have to have time to get out there and find some information on all of this. It's just that it's hit so fast right after our comp plan took so long. And then this has, you know, come to us when we weren't quite ready. So.
And Jeff, maybe it's lost on
Rush.
me, or maybe I missed it. But have we? Do we have a landowner's perspective on what they prefer or would suggest, or you know?
What I would say, based on what I know, you know, that area continues to evolve with housing. And so I think that was one of the interests and questions that came about, you know, based on what I know. So Lorraine, I think what I would suggest is, you know, and again, this is me volunteering a little bit of my time, but maybe we can put something together, a meeting with, you know, you and myself and certainly Rick, and then maybe Bill, to just kind of put next steps in place. And Nicole's welcome, you know, and honestly, anybody on the commission that wants to be a part of that. We just have to be careful if we get more than two of us, I think. So, or two or more of us. So, but I'd certainly be, you know, a part of that if we want to spend an hour just kind of talking through what next steps look like, and then, you know, who can lead those up. You know, maybe we put something together, and it can be a Zoom meeting. It doesn't have to be anything in person, but maybe that's the best way for us to move forward. And then even in that meeting, we might be able to identify a few folks that, you know, that we would want to reach out to see if they have an interest. Does that work?
Sounds good.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's next week or if it's week after, but, you know, let's throw some time on the calendar and you know, get together.
Okay, so you're basically, you want, so planning staff is going to be responsible for still doing all the legwork on looking at what the next steps are, what we can do and so forth.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if we get together, based on that, we can determine who needs to do what, or what the opportunities are, or, you know, who can go help us, is what I was saying. I don't think we're going to solve that tonight. I think we need to, you know, put our heads together and talk about, you know, kind of what do resources even look like, you know, and maybe we go back to, you know, what was involved in the comp plan. And if we cut that by, throw a number out there, 10%, you know, what would that look like, and who would need to be involved? And then what resources. So I think, you know, and that's kind of what I envision the meeting being. It certainly wouldn't be to say, you know, planning has to do all this, or, you know, Rick has to do all that. It would simply be a discussion around, you know, how do we go forward? You know, I think the commissioners this evening have shared, you know, the fact that they want to, you know, they want to, you know, maintain this and they want to support it. But also, you know, what does that future look like? And so I don't think, you know, this evening that we're going to, you know, solve that. So I think that we really need to just, you know, some of the key players, and I consider, you know, again, I think Rick, the mayor, myself, and then, anybody else that wants to be a part of it certainly can do that. Does that make sense?
I believe so. We are the committee.
We
Right.
are, but from the committee, then of course we can figure out what the future looks like. I mean, that's just the way that I look at it. We're going to need someone from planning. We're going to need someone from, Rick's area. And then, potentially the mayor, because he may be able to help us go find some money. And I know he's listening probably, but that's the reason that I threw those few folks out. It wasn't to give anybody any work.
No, I know. Nicole, okay. I think our thought was a committee of the commissioners so that they could discuss and kind of have a vision
Well, and
and
so.
present this and, okay.
So we have to be careful though, right? Because if two of us get together or more, then
Yeah.
we have to have a meeting, right? And that requires more work versus if I reach out to them. So maybe one of my tasks coming out of that, initial meeting is, hey, visit with the commissioners and jot down, their ideas, thoughts around this. And then I can bring that back to the group. And that would be a representation of the commissioners, because again, I don't think tonight we're ready to go throw out what our 12 visions are. I don't think we're there yet because it kind of introduced it to a few folks that are, new to the group. And then, I'm certainly going to encourage them to do a little bit of research or, thoughts around what, they might, envision. And then it gives me an opportunity to go back and talk to them, and then bring that back to the group. And then we can do that, in the right manner. Does that make sense? That's the way that I look at it.
When you say bring it back to the group, you mean, okay, we'll get together. I think I know, you're wanting me to set up a meeting with Rick, Mayor, you and me,
Yes.
and to look at the next steps on how to move forward. What we can do, and then take those ideas and bring them back to the commission.
Yes.
Okay. You're wanting to set up that meeting now or just later?
No, I'll get with you tomorrow.
Okay.
If I try to go to my calendar, we'll be here forever. So I'll just get with you tomorrow. I just think if we spend this evening, trying to get all the ideas that we're not going to accomplish this evening what we truly need to accomplish. And so, let's have that discussion first, and then we can figure out, how we need to come back as a group and move forward.
Okay. Are we ready to go on to
Well,
the next one?
we can have two commissioners, right, without having to have a meeting that's recorded. Is that correct?
Well, on committees, you just I think you just basically just have to let them know that you're meeting, but
Yeah, it still has to be an open, you still have to
Yeah,
give notice and people
but-
are still allowed to attend.
Okay.
yeah. But is there anything,
And the reason I was asking, if there are any other commissioners that wish to be a part of it, feel free to let myself know or, Lorraine or Nicole, and then we can include you as part of the meeting, in order to, kind of help us move forward. So that's what I would also encourage. And then certainly feel free to send any notes. Email would be, acceptable. or certainly give me a shout and we can, have some discussions, if you guys have some thoughts as well.
Jeff, I'd certainly be willing to volunteer and help out any way I can. I just don't want to break any rules of having too many people, like you said, without having to have an official meeting, all of that. But
Okay. Appreciate that, John.
And I don't know that the official meeting is really that big of a deal. We just have to do it with enough advance notice to publish it and then do it so that people can attend or listen. Is that right, Brian? Am I understanding that? And Maureen?
Yeah, that is correct. The public has the right to attend anytime two of the commissioners are, two or more of the commissioners are meeting and discussing this stuff.
What about notes or recording, Brian?
Oh, you know what? I would have to look at the statute on that to see, and I don't have it in front of me at the moment. I think you're okay. I mean, but because arguably, if I understand correctly, you guys are essentially meeting in committee and no decisions are going to be made. You guys may come back and make recommendations to the rest of the commission. Is that correct?
I think that would be correct. There's no vote. I mean, I suppose there could be no minutes taken of the meeting if there were no voting.
Right. So that's what my gut tells me, but I'd be happy to look at that and get back with Lorraine if that's if you guys decide to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it is basically just putting together the discussion and a report back to the commission.
Okay.
Would be the role.
Okay. I just want to make sure, that we're doing the right thing.
Okay.
Right. On to announcements. There is a tech review meeting on 1/28 at 2 p.m. Is that going to be virtual or in person, Nicole or Lorraine?
We have been holding them virtually.
Okay. And then the next PC meeting is 2/2. Again, if you can't attend, feel free to let me know. And John, I appreciate you letting me know ahead of time, and then Craig let me know this evening as well. The next council meeting is 2/9 at 6 p.m. Anything else from any of the commissioners? Anything else from staff?
Oh, I do have one thing. Your W-2 should be out to you. You should receive them by the end of the week, as long as the post office works with us. They're going to try to have them out in the mail tomorrow. So I just want to let you know, heads up. John had asked, and I answered everything but that. So.
Yeah. So Lorraine, I chuckled there because I mailed some Christmas cards to my family in North Carolina, and it took 42 days to get there.
Oh man.
So.
Oh gosh. I know. I have not had good luck either.
It's not their fault.
The W are completed and in envelopes.
I tried to pick mine up today and be a good citizen and save some money, and Pam said it was at the mail already. So anyway.
All right.
Got there after me then.
Is there anybody on the bad list, Lorraine, do you know, in regards to completing?
On the statement?
Yep.
Unless you've heard from Pam, I think we're good.
Okay.
I think I've kind of seen all of you come in or heard from you in some way.
Okay.
Joey, you might be on the bad list.
I'm definitely.
You
on the
look
bad
ornery
list.
too.
I'm on the bad list.
You're on the bad list. Okay, well, you need to come get your iPad too.
Yeah, I'm gonna print it out at work and bring it in. I don't want. I'm gonna try to get it notarized. I don't want to have somebody wait until 5 or 4:30 or whatever to notarize it for me. So I'll try to just bring it in where I can drop it off.
Leanna will be here too.
Yeah, that's what I
can
did today. They were there. It was easy, 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, you should feel bad, Joey.
Yeah.
I do.
All right. Is anyone else that's looking guilty? Amber,
John,
you're not
you
even
good?
looking.
John, are you good?
But I know she did. I saw her.
I turned mine in.
Yes, she's good. Devin?
Devin? We need to ask Devin.
I can just barely see his eyes, so.
Hey, I'm good.
Okay.
Holy cow.
He just makes a copy each year and signs it, so.
John, are you good?
John, did you get yours in?
Yeah, I thought I did. I'll
Okay.
double check to make sure.
All right.
Okay.
I
All right.
worked closely with Pam, so I was first. I know what her being on her bad list is like.
Man, I was down to the-
I thought I took care of it right after the last meeting, so I'll double
Okay.
check.
This is like the best year ever.
Man,
We
I was
made.
scared. I'm scared of Pam too. So
I was gonna
Alright.
wait till March.
Oh, Joey. Don't make my life bad.
all right, I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
This is Tony, motion to adjourn.
Joey, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of the week.
Bye.
Thanks.